First up is Mona Allen. She's the Director of Development and Legacy with the Dallas Jewish Community Foundation. And just a brief word about her. Her nonprofit career, she's utilized her degree in special education from Kent State University, and her passion for caring about the Jewish community, be it at schools, synagogues, or community organizations, is very strong. I checked my schedule, and the Golden Flashes play the University of Oklahoma, where our youngest daughter attends this coming Saturday, so I just asked that the Golden Flashes take it easy on the Sooners. Okay?
I don't think you'll have a problem there.
We'll be watching the Golden Flashes. She's been at the Dallas Jewish Community Foundation for 9 years. And while her professional title is, as I said, Director of Development and Legacy, she also runs the College Scholarship Program and the Professional Advisor Series seminar that you'll hear about in just a moment. She's originally from Cleveland, enjoys volunteering for many nonprofits, and she and her husband Artie have raised 4 sons in 5 different cities over 12 years. That's a lot. And so, along with many dogs, as I understand.
Numerous.
So, Mona, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Thank you all, Bill, for organizing this and for all the details that I do appreciate it. Before I start, I do want to ask how many of you are fundraisers, or work in the fundraising side of the world. Okay, so a lot of you. So, again, as Bill said, informal, and so please don't hesitate to ask any questions. But my question to you is, what do you think the worst thing a fundraiser can do? Does anyone know what would be the worst thing a fundraiser can do?
Not honor the donor's intention.
Okay.
Not ask for the money.
Not ask. Good. Anyone else? Yes.
Not follow up.
Not follow up. Great. All right. Well, nobody picked mine, but that's okay because I guess that's the reason why I'm here. Mine is where the fundraiser unfortunately has their eye more on their own goals and numbers because they have a board or staff to that they're accountable to, and we have seen that, especially a new fundraiser that's supposed to do endowment, and supposed to do year end, and supposed to make lofty goals for their big events. They can't seem to get off of that wheel of trying to bring in business, and then they forget to really listen to the donor. And that's why I want to show you our foundation works a lot different, and we're very blessed in our community to have so many different foundations, so many different faith-based foundations. And we all thankfully play very well in the sandbox, and we're very supportive of each other. But of course, there are things we should always be able to learn from each other, so hopefully this will be the first of many opportunities to do so. So I think that donors, just like donors have different reasons and different ways to give, there are many different ways to work with donors. Many nonprofits focus on the how or the way donors can give. And our foundations work with donors. Our goal is for them to first reach clarity on the why of their giving. So as I go through these topics, I hope what resonates for you is the focus on the donor, because we consider that our highest obligation, and it's our mission, really, is to provide clarity for donors, and at the same time, we're also here to strengthen charitable giving in our community to the nonprofits that exist. So while our mission, as you see, is focused on the donor, we also focus on the community for that vision. So we're straddled between two worlds. We really want to do everything we can to make sure that donor has clarity. And hopefully, I forgot to ask, how many of you have that issue of the donors like real close and they're like, well, you know what, maybe I should talk to my kids. We want to try to engage them and make it so clear in their mind that they automatically will share this with their family, that this is a value that whether it's newly discovered or just surfaced, or just come out in a way to be able to communicate to their family what their goals are, what their intent is. And these conversations, while we hope have already started, they're never too late to start. So as I move on, I want to tell you about hopefully somebody that everyone has in their agencies, the lovely little old ladies that are very generous, not so much in volunteering, but generous in their giving. Modest, of course, but like clockwork, they're always being a contributor. So this particular woman, Judy, may her memory be for a blessing, she was a very strong supporter to about 5 charities that were very near and dear to her. And after she passed, her endowment started once her estate was passed into our endowment funds. And those same 5 nonprofits were now able to get more of her passion. And as you see, it wasn't the $150 or so a month, a year, it was $15,000 or more that was coming annually. And that's the beauty of endowments. And that's something that we really work on. While we do have a lot of donor advised funds, and that is of course how we engage a lot of people, through those conversations and truly getting donors to feel what they want to be remembered by, how they want their grandchildren to remember them by, or their community. Those things can only really be witnessed through their endowments. And endowment and legacy is a huge part of our foundation's world. So, sorry, let me switch this. So there's a lot of options that we have for our foundations. So the Dallas Jewish Community Foundation and its affiliates are unique nonprofits because we do not fundraise and we do not solicit. When we are talking to donors, we're representing charity, not a particular charity, but whatever charity that their passions are. So many agencies, of course, have donors that are wanting to do something more for their charity, and they'll introduce them to us, but they know we're going to not be representing said agency, we're going to be representing charity and working with that donor to clarify what else, or is that what they want to work on, or are there other agencies? Be it 5 like Judy, or 55. We will do whatever they want. So all of our funds are tailored by the donor. So as you see, we work with 2 different groups, for families, individual, and companies, all the things that we offer. And we also are blessed to have nonprofit partners that allow us to manage their assets while they're busy doing their own mission. So for them, we provide our endowment education and legacy planning if their donors want. Again, because we don't solicit and we don't fundraise, our agencies feel comfortable coming to us and know that we are not going to follow up on that donor after their first meeting with us. The donor, we explain this to the potential fund holder for us, they have to contact us if they wish to move with us. And so far, the longest time in between first meeting and subsequent has been 11 years. So we had to look in our database to see who were the connectors and the people. None of them are still around, and she was with a new attorney, but she was ready to make some plans. And we understand it's a personal thing, just like charity is a personal thing as well. So our stewardship, our working with these donors have really paid off. We have been around, our foundation and its affiliates have been around for just about 50 years. And we're able to make the difference because everything we're doing is dependent on our relationships with advisors, fund holders, community partners, and nonprofits like you. Our relationships through stewardship has grown our annual distribution year after year, propelled our foundation to new heights, and especially this new, which is not so new now, it's 6 years old, but because of our growth with all these different relationships, we were able to begin a DBA, doing business as a secular branded foundation, so that our reach is not just within the Jewish community and not just within Dallas, but can be expanded. When we introduce ourselves to advisors or to agencies, we say we have 2 business cards. You choose which one you want to work with. So it's a way to show that our foundation, our values are still there, just doing it under a different brand. So for those in marketing world, can understand the value of a brand. But I think the main thing, and I'm going on to my last slide now, but the main thing that has given us our ability to grow has been the fact that for 27 years we've been hosting a seminar. And that seminar thankfully continues to get advisors, nonprofit professionals from all over the Metroplex. We often have had people coming in from Oklahoma as well because of that history that we have done. We created a reunion. So this event is in 2 weeks' time, and tomorrow is the last day for the early registration. However, I have a word into somebody at my office that if you contact me, we'll waive that registration, that late charge, so that you can be able to join us and see, learn, and be able to connect with so many different advisors from so many different places. And with that, I thank you and look forward to meeting you more shortly.
Thank you, Mona. Our next speaker is Cindy Shafer. She's the president and CEO of Network of Community Ministries. She's originally from the Pittsburgh area, and she's spent more than 25 years working on local and national nonprofits, most of the time working with the poor and the vulnerable in our society. She serves on the advisory board for the Richardson Chamber of Commerce. She's a member of the Richardson Rotary and helping agencies serving Richardson. She is a very proud graduate of the Leadership Richardson class of 33 and involved in their alumni organization. She holds a bachelor's degree from Grove City College. That school began, as I learned in my research, in 1876 as Pine Grove Normal Academy.
You taught me, I didn't know that.
Okay, there you go. And she has a master's degree in professional leadership and nonprofit from Carlow University in Pittsburgh. That was founded in 1929 by the Sisters of Mercy. So Cindy and her husband Dave, they live locally and enjoy spending time with their granddaughter Lily. So Cindy, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. I'm going to shift in a different direction, and I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were from Cleveland when we talked about Pittsburgh, like it's football season.
Yeah, well, we were only talking college football. We couldn't stay that way.
But it was hard to move here from Pittsburgh because the Steelers and the Cowboys, but Cleveland's even worse.
True that.
But yeah, so but I get to sit between these lovely ladies who are talking about the foundation side of things. And I'm going to spend some time talking with you more about the fundraising aspect. So when I arrived at Network in 2016, about 6 years ago as the CEO, the organization was doing fine. We had about a $2.2 million operating budget. And with that, we were serving the poor in the Richardson ISD area. That's our service area. We serve with food, clothing, we do some financial assistance, but ultimately it's about stability and helping people to rise above and job resource and career development, things like that. So $2.2 million in 2016, and since that time, a lot of things have happened that many of you in this room have experienced. And thankfully the Catholic Foundation partnered with us after some of that. But we've all been through the pandemic together. But for me, the real shift in our fundraising started in 2019 when, in true Texas fashion, there was a tornado that came through our service area. And it was not just one tornado, we had 10 tornadoes that touched down. And that really struck a big need with what we had going on. Then we've also had hurricane evacuees come to this area. There have been, it seems like thing after thing after thing, and I keep talking about the last few years have seemed like dog years with all of the things that have happened. But from the $2.2 million operating budget to today, our current operating budget is about $8.6 million. Last year we raised actually almost $12 million, but that was with a capital campaign in the mix. So going from the 2.2 million to more than 8 million annually, we really had to look at how are you doing this? Like, how are you doing fundraising? And what we started with, and what I inherited whenever I came into the organization was fine. We did a few appeals, I think 4 times a year there were direct mail going out. We had social media things. We had some foundation gifts. We had a few major donors, but it was not really keeping in mind the audience that was around or the great need. They ended up being 4 times larger. And what I want to talk about is how we added on to those things, what we really looked at. And diverse audiences that really drives the flexible giving options. We have audiences from people who are going to give $5 a month to people that are giving us several $100,000 a year to $1 million a year, but we need to make sure that there is a way for them to give every time and every way we reach out to them. And what I'm going to show you today are really examples of what we do. So we do direct mail. And I know while that is not always conventional for people to do that anymore, we find that is still one of the biggest ways that people get back to us. So in everything that we send out, there is a remittance envelope that comes back. We moved our facility about over a year ago. It was last summer we moved in July. And just last week, we received a visit from the people who were in our former space who brought us a big stack of mail that they had gotten, and we did pay the post office for extra, like 2.5 years of the forwarding, but that didn't happen. And it was $28,000 worth of checks that they had received, and they were all old remittance envelopes that had the old address on them. There were some that were 10 years old. So, and these are people, I mean, we know these donors, they knew we moved. Why are you using this old envelope? But you have people that they throw things and they don't want to waste that. So, but it's a way, and we want to make it easy for them every step that you get. Now, the hope is that the post office would get with, but you contacting those people, hey, let us send you some more envelopes to replace that. But don't miss that opportunity thinking that people, they don't do that anymore. They really do. They really do send things back in the mail. We use QR codes everywhere as well. So that if someone has the urge to give, they can give right away, they can give quickly, they can give easily. And then as you see the green button, we also have the make a donation today. Everywhere you look, everyone's email signature block, every email that goes out, and everything that we do electronically goes out that way. We started doing weekly emails. That's really what you're seeing on the right. It goes out every Friday. That's the Friday email, and it's talking about what we're doing, but it gives people that opportunity again. They're reading a story about what happens. People want to hear about it. They want to hear the good things that are going on, and you never know what's going to prompt them to give, but always give them the opportunity to give, because you don't know what it's going to be, and you might be surprised at what it is that people give to. Creating a movement around a cause is something, again, a great technique to get people excited and on board. We worked from 2019 through 2021 to really raise money to do mobile food delivery. This was something we knew there was a great need for. Not everybody could get to our location for food, and we wanted to take it on the road. And as you'll see on the top, if you can see, I'm not sure, it's kind of small, but in the middle on the truck on the bottom, the Catholic Foundation actually was an organization, and it was, now I understand, it was when Ann first started working here. I didn't know that you were new then, but that's when we started our relationship with the Catholic Foundation around the cause of mobile food delivery and being able to get into the community and be able to meet the needs where they were. Now, we purchased this truck in the summer of 2019 with the help of the Catholic Foundation and some other partners. And little did we know, October of 2019 was when the tornadoes happened. But us having that truck allowed us to go into the community and the people that were most affected and take food to them. And really, the day after the tornado, we were going through neighborhoods, taking water, snacks, helping people that were doing cleanup and first responders and all of that. And had we not had that truck, we wouldn't have been able to reach that number of people. But that helped us with that cause to be able to continue to add to that case to where you see the second truck that we bought this last year. And that actually is more of a we always, our bookmobile, our foodmobile that you can walk on and shop and do those things. But it's about that cause and helping people to see it and giving them that full circle. What are you doing to help? I always think it's really important too when you talk to donors, when you talk to just people in the community, you never know who you're going to strike. But you want to hit at many different angles, not just the story of the people in the community that are cleaning up after their homes were destroyed, or the gentleman that I saw actually wandering down the street that had no idea where to go because his house, he had no windows in his house, he didn't know what to do anymore, an elderly gentleman, and he was just grateful that we gave him a protein bar. But you have people that want to hear the statistics. Well, how many people were you able to help? What was that price per person? How many pounds of food were you able to distribute? And we have found that when you can hit people how they learn best and what they receive best, you're going to capture more of the audience and get more people on board to help. All of that led up into our Building for Our Neighbors campaign, and you'll see that picture there is our new facility. We created a logo for it, which is the building with a tree. We branded that really well, I think. We have a public art piece that's in the front of the building with that tree, which if you've seen it, it's awesome, but it was one of those like, I'm not so sure I like that. It was kind of, it was different, but it's a really cool piece of art. But people saw the need for what was growing in our community. When I talk about our operating budget growing by 4 times, everything has grown by 4 times. The number of people that are coming to us for help, the amount of financial assistance, the pounds of food that we're serving, clothes distributing, the number of people we're helping with jobs. And when you can show all of that need and you show why you need more space, why you need to serve seniors better, and it just helps people to rally around the cause. In creating that excitement too, like we are very fortunate that we have a jewelry owner manufacturer that was part of our board at the time for this campaign, and they actually made jewelry pieces with our logo on it, little pendants. I usually wear mine, but I don't have it on today. And people would come up to us and say, "How do I get that? That's such a beautiful." Beautiful necklace, and it was if someone gave $100,000 or more to the campaign. And I had people give me $100,000 so that they could have a necklace, which I thought, okay. But you never know what is going to reach them. And for the guys, we had cufflinks, so we served everyone. But some of them wanted it for their wives. Some of them asked if can I get 2 of those instead? Can I trade this in? So, but going around the cause really helped us be able to do that. Now, hitting people in all different things. Videos are another thing. These are not the most flattering places to start a video, as you see me. But we do videos on a regular basis as well. And we do them, again, sometimes they complement our Friday emails that we'll send out a video or put that on our social channels. But we have a video series where we interview different community partners, or I will interview different community partners and talking about what do we do together, how have we partnered, how does this go, and on the top right you'll see we do an after-school art program, and that is the gentleman who runs the art program, and he also painted a mural on the back of our building, which is the longest continuous mural in Texas on a building, which I learned that whenever we were sitting there. But it's a good time to do those interviews, brought in people then from their audiences. So, at one point I interviewed the superintendent from RISD, interviewed this gentleman, interviewed people from Dallas Junior Forum. So you get their audience as well as your own, and talking about the partnerships there. And showing the facility. We'll do tours, go to different areas of the facility. Just anything that we can do to draw people in and bring people from different audiences. Now, we hit all of the social channels at this point as well. And believe it or not, I am on TikTok. I do not personally have a TikTok account, but I am on TikTok because we need to make sure that we are on all of the socials. So we want to look at everything that we're doing and putting it out there in many different ways. And then direct mail, we still do direct mail. I said that's really where we started. That's all we did. We were a one-hit wonder back in that's it, 4 times a year wonder, not even a one-hit wonder. But we do direct mail marketing. We actually have a direct mail piece that goes out monthly. We follow up then with the electronic versions of that. So in our Friday emails, different segments go out. We do the video with different pieces from our mail piece. Socials will follow up with that. Everything ties in together to keep it all themed, so that while we might be getting that piece of mail, the envelope that someone's had for 10 years, those probably aren't the same people that are watching us on TikTok, but maybe on Facebook or Instagram. And you never know where they're going to see you or when it's going to strike them to give to you, but you always want to make that opportunity for that. And then the last thing I want to talk about, the important thing to measuring your impact. Know how many times people are clicking through, how many opens you're getting for your emails. So what are people responding to? Some of the campaigns that we have done, I would have never thought that we would have gotten the response that we did for it in the way that people responded. But being able to measure that, knowing, and then how do you repeat that? And that you get that year after year. So what was the call to action that worked? And always measuring that is really important. But I'm very proud of the fact that my team, and I will not say it was me, it was my team, that we have been able to go from that $2.2 million to $8.6 million. And it's really by just being comprehensive and getting to people and what suits them best and looking at that diversity. So with that, I'm going to pass it on. We're passing the laptop down that's in the water.
Thank you, Cindy. Our next speaker is Darina Padian. She is our Vice President of Development. Prior to joining the Catholic Foundation, she was the Texas and Colorado Director with the Ireland Funds. And here she leads the development team, marketing communications, and certainly deals with current and prospective donors. By her voice, you'll notice that she was born and raised in Ireland. And she also is a good Irish jig dancer. Just ask her. I've done the jig with her in this room. She has 30 years of sales, hospitality, and fundraising experience. More than a decade of that was with the well-known Four Seasons brand. She holds memberships on Dallas Estate Planning Council, the Estate Planning Council of North Texas, National Association of Charitable Gift Planners, and the Irish American Society. She's a member of the Ursuline Professional Women's Network and a leader of the Junior Catholic Daughters of America. Her family and she are members at St. Monica's Catholic Church, and she's the proud mom of 3 daughters. The oldest goes to the University of Kansas, the middle one goes to the University of Texas, and her youngest has recently started at Ursuline Academy. So, Darina, take it away.
Good morning and welcome, and thank you all so much for coming to join us. We are thrilled to have our 3rd Catholic Community Network event, and very excited to see everybody. A lot of familiar faces in the crowd, so thank you for joining us. We're thrilled to have you. I prepared a presentation, although one of my good friends who's here with us this morning said, why don't you just do a TED Talk? I said, what is that? I mean, I've heard about it. I really don't know what it sounds like or what it is, but I think this is the type of environment where a TED Talk could actually work, so I'm going to give it a shot. But I do have a few slides, and Bill knows that I'm a little digitally challenged, but let's see what happens. Oh, good, I got it. Okay. The Catholic Foundation, as you've heard from Bill, we were established 67 years ago, and we are a community foundation just like the Jewish Community Foundation. We serve as a trusted charitable giving expert in the community and help donors make a difference in our Catholic community and beyond. We manage $300 million in assets and more than 500 charitable trusts and funds here. That's a milestone for the Catholic Foundation, and we're very proud of the fact that we've reached those milestones in the last 67 years. In 2021, the Catholic Foundation awarded 2,400 grants totaling $21.5 million. So in a snapshot, that's how we're progressing year after year. 15% of the grants that we distributed last year were to non-Catholic organizations. So Cindy is a prime example of that. We were so honored to be able to partner with you all with your truck and also the building refurbishments of the food. So I think that that's a myth that is in our community. Well, there's a couple of myths. One, that we only support Catholic organizations. That is not true. Secondly, we do not fundraise, just like Mona, as well as the Jewish Community Foundation. We friend raise. So we're not fundraisers. I was excited to hear what you're doing as a fundraiser, but we're here to develop relationships and really establish a relationship with our donors. The other myth, which Bill touched on earlier, is we're not part of the Diocese of Dallas. We're a separate entity. We're not Catholic Charities, although we partner with Catholic Charities, and we'll talk about that a little later. But we are a very proud community foundation that has been operating successfully for the last 67 years and has made a tremendous amount of impact in our community in Dallas and in other geographic locations around the country. We have 5 audiences, and I thought we would start with talking about those. The largest audience for us is our current donor base. That is for sure where our focus is on our development team, and also really from Matt Kramer to everybody who's part of our foundation. We're a team of 50 people, soon to be 17 people. We're excited to grow, but every single one of us touches our donors in different ways, but equally as important. Our prospective donors, also a huge focus for us. That's where we get the opportunity to plant the seeds and really grow our donor base. We don't know where they will come from necessarily. Will it be from an event? Will it be from this event here, Community Network? Will it be just from word of mouth? Usually word of mouth is a big part of how we successfully grow our donor base, but we're continually seed planting, and that's what our development team focuses on as well. Our professional advisors, just like Mona, we have a large audience of professional advisors who help us tremendously with referrals. Those are CPAs, attorneys, trust and fund probate officers, and financial planners. The Catholic schools, Catholic churches, Catholic organizations, and nonprofits, those are partners with us. Also, we host agency funds here with those, but we also support our Catholic community through our grant rounds that we'll talk about, that Anne is obviously very involved in. And many of you have received grants from the Catholic Foundation through the spring and fall grant round. And our community at large, which is non-denominational. I mean, we touch so many people from so many different walks of life. Bill touched on the televised masses that we began in 2020. As Matt has mentioned, he shares the story often, that we were asked by the Bishop of the Diocese of Dallas to consider assisting with putting televised masses on for 3 months. And that was in 2020. Here we are going into 2023, and we are weekly showcasing English and Spanish masses. We had no idea what the impact of those masses would have on the individuals. Obviously, we were all homebound. and then we started sneaking out little by little back to church. But many that could not leave their home have really found a whole new ministry in those televised masses. We continually get letters from individuals we've never met before, thanking us for this service that we're bringing to their homes, or to their hospital beds, or to their senior living centers or whatever. It's actually surprising where we get the messages from, and so uplifting to us as a foundation who's able to support this ministry. One of the letters that Matt had shared with our board, and I'll share with you, was from an individual who was in a jail in Denver, or in Colorado, somewhere in Colorado, who wrote to say that his mom had asked him to tune into the Mass in Dallas. I don't know if they were from Dallas originally, but that he sent in a check, I think like $30 or something, to thank us for this ministry, that we were able to reach him. And I know that several individuals abroad too were able to connect back with their home in Dallas through the televised masses. So to us, that was a gift that we didn't even see coming for the foundation and for the community. So we're thrilled about that. We are very easy to work with. I thought this graph might help a little bit with the 5 steps that we follow when we're meeting a donor or operating with a donor, working with the donor on setting up a fund with us. The first, obviously, is to outline your philanthropic goals. That's very, very different for each donor. Every donor is completely unique. So what you're giving is going to be completely different to what my giving is going to be. The second is then to determine how much you'd like to invest in charitable giving. And we talked through the various different options of giving while you're still with us here, or would you consider giving after you've gone on to your next life. The third is, what would you like to name the fund? Is it going to be an individual fund? Is it going to be a couple fund, family fund, or for an institution? And the fourth, obviously, is work with us on what makes sense. Are you going to operate with a market participating fund where it can grow and continue to give? Or would you like to just keep it as non-market participating? And that's a great investment option for a lot of donors. And the fifth is just establishing that fund with a gift and allowing it to grow, again, while you're living here, and considering leaving a gift with the Catholic Foundation after you're gone. So very simple. Again, every donor is unique to their needs and causes, so that's where our development team can really tune in with our donors and engage with our donors. The effective ways to engage with our donors. I think Bill mentioned that my background is in the service and hospitality industry. So for 30 years, I have been traveling a lot in different environments and countries, working with guests and hotel chains, and really servicing the guests' expectations. And that experience that I earned and learned has really served me well as a development officer here at the Catholic Foundation. Every guest is unique, every donor is unique, and you really need to take the time to get to know your donor. I cannot emphasize that enough. It's the key to the relationship being a long-lasting relationship. How can you connect with them? How can you exceed the expectations of that donor? Not just meet the expectations, but exceed those expectations. And going the extra mile really does differentiate you with another fundraiser or another organization, developing those special relationships that you will have with that donor and that the other organization may not even have the opportunity to get, because you've already started that relationship with them and they have a sense of loyalty to you and to your organization. Face-to-face meetings, it is without a doubt the most effective way to maintain a relationship, and we all were not able to do that for quite a while during COVID, and that's where we had to pivot to increase phone calls, increased email messages, increased handwriting cards, increased little gifts, birthday cards. All those little touches are so important. It's easy to say, oh, you know, I won't bother doing that, but it makes such a difference, and you'll hear it over and over again when donors say, I can't believe you remembered it was my mom's, anniversary. I can't believe you remembered my son's birthday or my daughter graduated. Those little touches are really important. So listening to when the donors are talking to you about their interests and their things outside the donor conversation about what their interests are. Just the personal things makes a huge difference. In-person events, we're back to gathering again, and at the Catholic Foundation we host a number of in-person events that touch each of our audiences at different times. We too have a professional advisor series event which will take place on November 10th, and I have a little information at the very end, but we have community-driven events such as our Art in the Plaza, which takes place every year, and we'll be reviewing the art pieces. It's an art competition that we'll be reviewing those next week. So it's happening right now. We're receiving art pieces for that competition. And then we have our awards dinner, which obviously is our flagship event where we honor some very well-known or maybe not well-known philanthropists in our Catholic community. Our award dinner will take place on February the 4th, and Jack Pratt is our honoree. And Jack has been a big supporter of not just the Catholic Foundation, but of the Diocese of Dallas and so many causes. I hope that you've had an opportunity to read about him, but he is definitely somebody who he walks the walk, he talks the talk, and he has the most humble of humble personalities that you can ever imagine, and has made such an impact in the community. So when we have a Jack Pratt in our family, we're very, very happy. He makes a big difference. Our marketing and communication is very similar to what Cindy talked about, and Mona too. We're in that transition between paper and electronic. I think most of us are. Our donor, I would say our demographics go from probably, the mid-40s to maybe the mid-90s. And so many of we were talking about our moms who are almost 90, many of our older donors definitely want that piece of paper. They do not want to log in. They may not even have a laptop, iPad, or they probably still have the flip phone like my mother does. And then there's our more, I would say, the professional advisor audience for sure. And for our donors who are in their 50s and 60s, they have stopped mail. They are not checking their mailbox at all. And so we have to reach them digitally. And it's how do we combine the two? And I think just like you were saying, you have to do both. You have to send out those newsletters, and maybe not to the full donor base, but try and highlight who is that particular demographic that needs to receive paper. And then we have our electronic correspondence, electronic communications through newsletters. Social media obviously has become a huge focus for us. Bill, social media Kula over there, has grown he has exploded our presence in LinkedIn, in Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Are we on TikTok, Bill?
We're not on TikTok.
Because if we were, I hope that Jing would not get out there. That would be, but so I guess TikTok will be coming next. But we're very fortunate because Bill consistently gets our messaging out, shares our videos, shares what we're doing here today, and every week we have, at least once a week, we'll have some stories to share on all of those 4 channels. And it's exciting because people now can see what we're doing and the impact we're making in the community, and will start following us. And we just love the fact that I think we're at our highest following rate ever in all those channels. And that's really because of you all engaging with us, sharing and liking, and Bill continuing to share our messaging too. So that's very important for all of us. And then supporting partner events. We are very fortunate. We partner with so many organizations like our community network ministry. Non-Catholic, we support a lot of partnerships with our Catholic organizations such as Catholic Charities, St. Vincent de Paul, the seminary, Holy Trinity Seminary. I mean, we partner with all different, I would say, a diverse amount of organizations in religious, education, and community service areas. Catholic Charities and the Catholic Foundation, we often have to clarify who we are and what we do. But as an example, we have the opportunity to be recognized at their gala next January, which when we were invited to consider that was a gosh, I don't know if that's the right decision since people get us mixed up and, is that really going to hurt your event, our event, and so on. But we looked at it as an opportunity to clarify the differences between our organizations. We work very closely with Catholic Charities. I think we're their second largest benefactor to the Catholic Charities. We've definitely supported you over the years in all the different areas, and we find it a great organization to partner with, as with St. Vincent de Paul and many more. We also partner with fantastic organizations in the professional advisor series arena, which is just as important for us. So being there out in the community, supporting other causes is very important, not just for the organizations, but also for our donors to see that we are out there supporting a lot of the organizations that they support. So not only are they supporting St. Vincent de Paul, but we're also supporting St. Vincent de Paul. Not only are they supporting the seminary or their parish or schools, we're also supporting them separately. So that's really important to show that camaraderie and that common interest with what they're doing and what we're doing. It really helps a lot. Let's see, the best engagement practices for successful donor engagement. I think I talked about this a lot, but commit the time to get to know the donor. Each donor is unique, each donor is very different. What works for one may not work for the other, so spend that time, it's very well invested. Build the trust and respect with each donor. Obviously, relationships are built on trust and respect, and that takes time. The first time you meet a donor, you may not really know if this is our prospect, you may not know if that's going to go anywhere, but you have to commit the time to get to know the donor. I do have a story to share. In my previous role at another nonprofit, I traveled to Denver to meet with a significant donor who I had never met before. I was relatively new in my role, but he was definitely one of the largest donors in that area and was also quite quirky. So it was hard for me to get a lot of information on him, but I felt like I got as much information as I could before I met him. I did my due diligence. I felt like I knew as much as I needed to know and had what I needed to go in and meet with this gentleman. And when I eventually got to meet with him face to face, he had a file on me. And I was not prepared for that. So when we sat down and he said, "It's very nice to meet you, Darina," and he opened up his file and said, "I see you have 3 daughters." "I do." He said, "Tell me about them." And he started asking me all the questions. And that took me off guard completely. And he knew where I went to college. He knew where I had worked before. He knew where I lived. He knew a lot about me. And I was a little unsettled by that, I'll be honest. However, we had a great 2-hour conversation. And, we shared a lot of funny stories. And I learned so much about his family that is not online. I would never have learned anything about him if I didn't have that face-to-face opportunity with him. He learned a lot more about me than he probably cared to know. But at the end of the day, when I left that meeting, I felt like that was a relationship that was going to last because he took the time to learn about me before I came in. He was investing a little bit of time with his busy schedule to meet with me, so he wanted to make sure I was who he thought I was. And he did his research and he asked the questions and I answered them, and I did my research, I asked the questions and he answered them, and we felt like we'd established trust. And we started that relationship, and I still keep in touch with him today, and I'm no longer with that organization. So that's just an example of, it's not rocket science. This is really simple. It's about keeping those relationships going and keeping them strong. And I think that all of us in here in development obviously feel comfortable with that, and that's why we're in development. And so just keep doing what you're doing. Committed and loyal donors are cultivated. They're not born that way. So when you meet a donor for the first time, this is just the beginning. You're going to be developing that relationship, and it could take years, just as you were saying, Mona. Some of these, there's no end in sight. Key engagement indicators, we're talking about metrics, and really, we have to find ways to measure our successes and the open click rates, and the return mail obviously is a good way of, since people are moving all the time and they're not receiving mail. But one of the ideas that Matt had suggested, which I thought was great, is just finding out from those donors, how did you hear about us? Was it at an event? Was it from a previous donor? Was it from one of our mailers? Was it the email blast? Was it Bill's social media post? I mean, we have to find out how we're connecting with those donors, and sometimes we just don't ask. And that's really helpful in the long run. Engage, this is not an acronym. Where is Michael George? He's our king of acronyms. But when I showed this slide to Bill, he said, what does that actually sound like? And I said, this is not an acronym. Engagement drives behavior of impactful philanthropy. And I think that pretty much sums it up. We have to stay engaged with our donors. And then I came up with this little ditty, which might sound familiar to some people. Come for the fellowship, stay for the mission. Together, we are the foundation. And that's the community, that's the donors, that's our staff, that's all of you in the room, everybody. And our annual report, which is one of our mailers that is probably, I would say, one of the most well-received mailers. The theme that we went with this year was together. Together because we had spent, obviously, a year apart. We had fragmented some of the bonds that, not fragmented is the wrong word, but we didn't have the opportunity to gather. So we decided to focus on this theme for our annual report, and we've had incredible responses with the idea of that fellowship. And because really the Community Foundation is all about that fellowship. That's what's important. And lastly, as we had mentioned, one of our events coming up is our advisor series that will take place on November 10th. And that's at the what do we call it now? The Arts District Mansion. Top planning ideas, COVID, Congress, and charity. I think that ticks all the boxes. So thank you very much, and really, really grateful to have this opportunity to meet with you. And something to remember us by, we will be giving out these Catholic Foundation. One for everybody to take home, so when you get your office later, you'll think about the Catholic Foundation. So thank you again.
Keep that in mind with questions. Tom?
Mainly perhaps to you, Cindy, but to all of you, you talked about your weekly email communication. So that's a sweet spot to try and hit of how much and how frequently. And I know that's going to be different for each organization and knowing our donor base. But how did you come up with the weekly, and are you finding, not to get too saturated with what you're saying, right?
So this is very surprising to me that we started it when COVID, when the lockdowns first started happening, when we couldn't do the face-to-face, we weren't seeing people as much. So we'll do it every Friday. These are our greatest needs, how you can help, all of that. And once we started coming out of COVID, we thought about, okay, do we need to do it less? But our response rates were still so high that we continued to do it. So, but that's really when we started to look at the metrics, and are people still opening it? How many unsubscribes are we getting? And because we had anticipated that it's going to get to where maybe we should do it every other week, but we've really looked at just changing the message up a lot more to where when we first started there were a lot more direct asks, because everyone wanted to know, how can I help, what can I do? And we'll mix it up a little bit without having the direct ask to this is what's going on and more thank you. So it was just mixing that blend. But it has not, we look at it and I'm still surprised by it, because like you, I would have thought that we would have really toned it down or reduced frequency. But it's been very popular. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe as a follow-up to that, so your email communication that you're doing, are you segmenting that based on your different audiences, or is it pretty much one communication across the board?
We're mostly doing one communication across the board. We have segmented it before, but we've gotten feedback actually that I'd like to hear. I just knew that you did food and I really like food, but now that I found out you're doing programming for seniors, it's really good to hear about that. So it's helped diversify what people know us for. So we have the ability to do it, but we haven't done that much of it.
Any questions? One of the things that you all talked about was the difference of donors from like the $5 a month donor to the six-figure is the process of developing relationships with that differentiation or that type of donor, is it different or is it the same? Do you treat the $5 a month and the 6 million or the 6-figure contributor the same?
I have a great story for that. So this was early in my career, I was probably 15 or 20 years ago. I worked for an organization that had been, it was a residential treatment facility for kids, but it had been an orphanage before that, when orphanages were still a thing. And there was this gentleman, obviously older, he would send a money order for $2.50 every month. And I thought, to get a money order for $2.50, you have to pay for the money order, pay for the stamp, and all of that. But I thought, you know, he did it monthly for years, and frequency is important. Frequency is more important than dollar value. But when he passed away, he left his whole estate, which was worth multiple millions of dollars. And had I not treated him well, it's just $2.50. That may not have ever come that way. So that I always treat them the same, because you don't know what really is going to transpire over the course of the relationship.
I have a question for either Mona or Darina, but just because, and Cindy, you're working mainly with direct donations, but the two of you are working almost indirect in a way, in that you're developing donations that are going to, you know, or donors that are going to be becoming more long-term. Excuse me. One of the challenges that so many organizations are having is finding the younger donors, developing people who are going to develop their giving muscles, so to speak. Those who are coming into their disposable income and realizing that those $5 a month donations can be developed into something. And whether, how are you doing that? How are you reaching those or identifying those along with your nonprofit partners?
Okay, so we don't strategize with the nonprofit partners. We treat them all as equal. So basically, they come for us for more, again, we stick to the endowment and legacy for them. But to reach them, we try to do some touch points that we think might engage them, not on a donor side, but on a give back side. We know that the younger donor is more wanting to contribute their time, their resources, not necessarily their monies at the beginning. And our college scholarship program, which Bill mentioned, we have a very large 70-plus member committee. The beauty of it is the majority of the work is done on your computer at your convenience. So this is an opportunity where we have been very fortunate. We've not only gotten parents of recipients, we've gotten some recipients to come back and be on the committee, as well as young people that are, out in the world, like my sons all in their 20s, want to do something but don't have the time, can't get over to the other side of time, work long hours and all. But doing something as simple as being able to review applications on the computer on their own time, then they're hearing more about us. So it's not, of course, not all of your agencies have some sort of RFP process where you could have a host of committee members do this, but it works for us.
And I would say, some of our current donors who have children who are in their 50s, I always try and bring the conversation up. Would your children be interested in meeting us? I recently met with a young couple. They're probably in their mid-40s, and how they heard about us was through a Catholic group that they were involved in, and one of the women who was at the group encouraged them to reach out to us because they had mentioned they're at the point in their lives where they're wanting to give back. And that told me that, you just never know when it's the right time. So you have to continually plant seeds try and engage with people at the events, at any given opportunity that you can, because it may not be the right time for them today, but it may be in 5 years' time, and they're thinking about it. They're thinking about it, and you just stay connected and keep, encouraging just an opportunity to be able to speak with them. It is tough because everybody's so busy, and that younger generation, a lot of times we find our donors who have been with us for 20, 30, 40 years, their kids have no interest in philanthropy. And I still feel that this upcoming generation is philanthropic, but they're reached in different ways, and that's where that digital marketing is really going to become more of a focus for them. But also the face-to-face, I still think you have to find a way to connect with these people, especially when it's something as personal as what we're dealing with, which is their charitable giving. Yeah, for sure.
I follow up the question to Bill, just because you do the social media. Do you find your followers on the different platforms are different followers, or is it the same people following on the different platforms?
Very different, very different. We have more of our schools, Catholic schools, tend to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Our older donors tend to follow us more on Facebook. Our professional advisors, no question, they follow us chiefly on LinkedIn. That's the fastest growing social channel we've got is LinkedIn, and a lot of it is because of the screen that's still on the slide that's still on the screen, that professional advisor series. When we start intentionally linking those organizations that are our sponsors, and then we start inviting individuals who work for those organizations that sponsor us, that's where the surge took place. So radically different followers. Where the similarity is the closest would be Instagram, and Facebook tends to be where there's a little bit of an overlap, but radically different across the board.
And TikTok is the other. We started doing that because we have a huge volunteer base that a lot of them are younger. We have a lot of college students and even high school students, and they loved it. So it's hopefully.
I think that is a great point. We don't have as many volunteers, although our board of trustees are incredible volunteers because they do volunteer their time, but we don't have what you need, those types of hands-on volunteers. But that's a great suggestion for a lot of the organizations that came to Paul. You have a huge amount of volunteers, young people too, students, and I haven't really. I'm trying to think of our TikTok crowd, but I'm sure they're out there.
We're school students.
We're school students, exactly.
Jackie, would you follow us if we got on TikTok?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all right.
She would be making the videos.
There you go.
Would you follow us on LinkedIn? Facebook?
My name is Heather Williams. I'm at Immaculate Conception School in Grand Prairie. I'm the development director there. This is our 75th anniversary, and so it's our birthday party year. And we have a golf tournament coming up in October.
Jimmy Abreu. I work with an organization called Communio, a national organization. Cindy's actually coming on, making a transition to work with us. That's why I'm here. To know you guys, and I've had a few meetings in town, so I figured I'd join. But we work strictly with parishes, and actually we work with parishes and Protestant churches to strengthen marriages and families. And so it's trying to shift the tide. When we're focusing on our young people, we need to do that, but we also need to focus on their parents, actually, to be able to pass on the faith well. And so we're trying to help churches to do that. We have some funders here in Dallas, so I figured I'd visit them while they're coming out here.
Luis?
So Luis Gonzalez, CEO for the Society of St. Vincent de Paul of North Texas. It's a pleasure to be here. Always learn a lot. Thank you very much as your presenters today. We do have a Director of Development opportunity that we are currently hiring for. So as Bill had mentioned, those of you on that side, on this side, we're looking. And it's really part of helping us to grow the Society of St. Vincent de Paul of North Texas.
Hi everyone, my name is Alicia Bray, and I also work for the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, North Texas. I am the development coordinator, and with a focus on the charitable pharmacy. So we do have our 3 systematic change programs, but the pharmacy is such an amazing program and is experiencing such rapid growth. That is my focus, and I am newer to the nonprofit world, so this is great, taking everything you all are saying and wonderful fundraising tips. So really lovely to meet you all and connect with everyone. Best of luck.
Hello everyone, I'm also with the Society. I'm Development and Communications Coordinator, so I do a lot of marketing, direct email, social media, I do that as well. We're not on TikTok yet. So yeah. And a big upcoming fundraising day is on Texas Giving Day, which I'm sure you all are a part of, so that's something that definitely take into consideration everything you shared. So, thank you.
Meg, we'll skip over our staff, and Meg, we'll go to you.
Okay, hi, I'm Meg Finley, and I'm the VP of Development for the Ireland Funds, which is an international organization raising funds for charitable organizations in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. So,
My name is Kathleen Bentler, and I'm the Senior Director of Donor Engagement for Catholic Charities Dallas. And we have several events coming up. Probably the big one will be the gala, which is going to be held the last weekend in January. It will be the 25th anniversary, and our entertainment is going to be Earth, Wind, and Fire. Wow. So, a big event. We're looking forward to it.
I'm Veronica Moreno. I'm on day 2 at Catholic Charities in Dallas. So I just started, I came from University of Dallas, and before that I was with Ursuline Academy of Dallas. So shaking the rounds here. I'm very happy to be with all of you this morning.
I'm Rebecca Almanza. I'm on day 2 with St. Anne Parish in Capel. I was with the University of Dallas as well, and so worked with Rebecca for a little bit of time. I was there for 7 years. On a Sunday at 4:30, you'll catch me at St. Anne's Parish for the youth mass, singing the band with Curtis. And something that we have coming up is our carnival this weekend. It's pretty big. We have fair-sized carnival rides. There'll be a petting zoo as well as a beer garden this year. It's the first time we're having that. So bring your families, bring your kids, bring your neighbors. It's open to everyone. If you happen to be there during mass times, those are available as well. I'm on the board of Catholic Charities as well, so kind of with my people here. And this will be my 4th year serving on the board of Catholic Charities, and just very happy to be here. Thank you so much.
I've been to 9 of those carnivals over the years. I won 3 goldfish. None of the goldfish are with us anymore. So,
Come back this time.
Okay. And we'll skip over Sham. Go over.
Hello, my name is Ricardo Guerra. I'm the Peru Projects and Programs Director. I work in Veracruz, Vera We build water sanitation plants outside the U.S. And we are glad to keep fighting the water crisis around the world. And I'm so excited to be here and meet you all.
Good morning, I'm Thomas Hutter with Pastoral Reflections Institute, and we exist to enrich human desire and need for spiritual connection. So Monsignor Don Fisher is our founder, and that is his focus in dwelling of God's presence, and that message is put out through a lot of different media, podcast and radio and YouTube. And he's going to be doing a couple of local seminars. So on Saturday, October 1st in the morning at Bishop Lynch High School. And he's going to, the focus of his spiritual teaching is mysticism. And mystics are not just some faraway distant saint necessarily. That's all of us as we seek our spiritual journey. So that's Pastoral Reflections Institute, and you can register for that online. And I'm so glad to be here. Thanks to the foundation.
Hi, I'm Caroline O'Brien. I'm not new anymore, but about a year in as the president at the Notre Dame School of Dallas. We serve students ages 6 to 22, all intellectually disabled or disabilities, and a small adult program that's growing because of our alums who want to stay with our programming. North Texas Giving Day, of course, is coming up. Our internal goal is to grow to 400 donors, to not by amount. We certainly have a financial goal too. Our external goal is 400. We'd love to hit 500. So help us get the word out. And we serve students from 82 unique zip codes: Anna, Terrell, Midlothian, and the Mid-Cities. So we really want to keep reaching out to families and make sure they have accessibility to come bring their children to our school, which is a special place. So our Texas Giving Day, like St. Vincent. Thanks for having us.